Well, thank you for attending the presentation. This is the legal disclaimer that I've been told by our legal department to share. Basically, all of the things that I'm going to say are my opinion and not theirs. So, DAIICHI SANKYO, I don't know how many people are familiar with the company. It is not an electronics manufacturer. We don't own nuclear plants. We are a pharmaceutical manufacturing company with headquarters in Tokyo, subsidiaries in 12 countries in Europe, as well as the United States. So what I am going to be sharing today is basically four broad groups. The first is to discuss innovative ways that we manage our product portfolio from a lifecycle management standpoint, DAIICHI SANKYO. I will talk about patient adherence and the relevance of this topic as regards to medication packaging. And then I will share with you a package design that we have that we think could be geared towards both consumer and medicinal markets. So those are the topics. And again, my role at the company, I've been there about 5 years, is basically lifecycle management. So I am a commercial person amidst very, very smart regulatory and supply chain contingent. So I feel very honored to be here. So, as we usually do in my organization, we start any discussion with a joke to kind of reduce the stress level in the room. Especially given Tony's presentation, I felt that, mine needs to be a little bit on the jovial side. We are all not Arnold Schwarzenegger. We don't have super genes. At some point in our life, we would need to find better ways to manage how we deal with diseases. And this is a great cartoon that I saw that basically says that at your age, good health is pretty much a thing of the past. My advice is to find an illness you can enjoy. Again, which speaks to the topic of adherence that I am going to be talking some more about. So as we talk about adherence, I wanted to share this chart that basically highlights the trend as of 2011, what the adherence rate in terms of medication adherence across Europe. So this is the rate at which patients take their medicine on time, compliance, and persistency. That's basically the term adherence. And you could see there are high levels as high as, I think Italy as 40%, Greece at 48%, and low numbers in the 30s. What this shows, again, is that it is a prevalent problem, and we need to find ways to deal with it as an industry. My organization has coverage in many therapeutic areas, one of them being cardiovascular diseases. And with cardiovascular diseases come medicines and medication that, once diagnosed, patients have to take through their lifetime. What also happens with that is that patients, and even us as manufacturers, we take that for granted in terms of how can patients continue to take this medicine for the rest of their life. That is a huge task to ask of anyone to do the same thing every day. Apart from taking showers and eating, and medicine isn't even as fun as either one of those activities. And that is why, again, we've took it up as a challenge as an organization to see how we can help patients with adherence. Bernard Verns is a key opinion leader that we work with based in Belgium, and basically highlighted the three different reasons or the three different ways where we can approach patient adherence. At the initiation phase, upon diagnosis, it's critical to tell the patient about the kind of medication, but also how challenging it's going to be to stay on this medication through their lifetime. When the medication is actually being, prescription is written and the patient is on the medication, it's important to keep stressing the importance of adherence. And lastly, it's the third part in terms of persistency, as they get their refills and as they continue to have the dialogues, especially with high blood pressure, if they're meeting their goals, what do they need to do apart from lifestyle changes to make sure they take medicine? An interesting quote that I like to share, again, as many of you probably know, medicines can't work in patients that don't take them. So how can we as an organization help with that? So like I said, as an organization, we've decided to take this charge up as many others because we believe first is the healthcare industry is evolving. We need to find a way to differentiate ourselves from competitors and our peers in the industry. And lastly, we believe we can differentiate our product through efficiency in terms of product delivery that will lead to better outcomes for patients. What do I mean by this? Invariably, as an industry, we've always developed drugs for diseases. That is our protocol. Our research and development plans focus on the disease at hand, which is what it should be. The call with this initiative that my organization has is to develop drugs for patients with the diseases. That way, we can not only attack the disease, but also help the patients who are the people that will eventually take the medicines for the disease. So, as a commercial strategy guide, the conventional way we've thought about life cycle management of product falls into these four broad categories. Basically, once your product is launched and it's on a growth curve, how can you optimize the product in terms of revenue, profits, or investments for the rest of your company and portfolio? Research and development efforts is one thing we can do. We can do portfolio expansion, basically trying to go into registrations in new market, intellectual properties to be able to assert the quality of your product and how well you make it to prevent competitors from being able to duplicate it. Marketing activities, as well as financial management plans, cutting back on your advertising and promotion, things that are not very important. This is the conventional way that we've looked at it. What I'm trying to say is that as an industry, we need to change this plan to make it more robust, to include more patient services so that patients can stay on our medication longer. This curve is essentially what the life cycle management plan looks like in most organizations. So if you bear with me 1 second, the axis to the left is the revenue line, and if you follow the green line here, that basically shows the evolution of our product in terms of sales. It gets to a point when it's matured, and that is when activities start to take place in terms of life cycle management to see if you can increase to a point where when it comes down at loss of exclusivity, as I say, 50% of 100 is greater than 50% of 50. The blue line is the investment line. And basically, organizations try to limit what their investments are at some point in the product's life cycle so they can maximize the profits. What this calls for here is when exactly can we introduce some of these innovative ideas that we have. Conventional wisdom basically says it's that overlap, that middle where the green and the white line kind of just form this bubble. That is where investments usually take place. That is where we could introduce new innovative ideas. With packaging and health services, the idea that I introduced to our organization and I'm taking on is that closer towards the end of the life cycle, as the product is peaking, is also a place where you can do that. Because this is a guaranteed return if patients and doctors are seeing that you're doing more for your brand at that stage in the game. So my proposal for not just my company, but for the industry is to not limit investment at launch, but to continue to think about how can we manage this product evolution even at maturity. It's a hard sell to talk to anyone at matured product to change the packaging for any product. But that's where we achieved our success here. The other point is to keep in mind, like I said earlier, that patients usually, upon diagnosis, they don't think about the disease as much, and over time, their thought and the worry level about medicine and their disease fades. Because they forget about this, that is also an opportunity area to be able to think about medication adherence. So if they've started practicing, it becomes something like taking a shower and eating breakfast. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that we know what standard packaging looks like for our medicines today. What we don't know is how can we evolve this over time so that patients can benefit from this. And the question that I ask myself, and I want to ask the audience in the room, is who remembers the days of the Walkman and the pager and every other gadget that you have to bring with you to go places? But thanks to a very young, nice man that invented the iPod, Steve Jobs, we all did not realize how much we needed it till it became available. So the point that I'm making with packaging is there are opportunities that we can exploit as an industry to not take that outside or the blisters for granted to be able to make patients more effective in sticking to therapy. So in my organization, we develop prototypes in our package designs. And again, these are examples of what we've did, but what we tested in the marketplace was basically what the appeal of this new package design would be, the usability, the size of the package, if it bothers patients or not, the storage, how convenient is it for patients, and does it really bother them? And lastly, we wanted to know if it's a strong differentiator to engage and let them be able to stay on their medication. The output is this, a new package design that we believe is the first in the industry to combine 5 unique features together to make patient more adherence. The easy access is the top opening design that most packaging don't have. The digital information is a QR code which contains basically the patient leaflet in a more easily bolded print compared to what everyone sees in their package today, which is the small print unfolded paper that we have. We also have a last blister reminder so that patients can proactively seek their doctors out when they're running out of medication. We have the calendar days on the secondary packaging and the primary packaging, but also we have an intake timer reminder. Remember my story earlier, the text here is in Italian, another test for language for anyone else here who can read Italian, speak French, and listen to my conversation in English. So the main features and the value of this, I will share some more at our later session when David introduces the HCP award winners. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is there are opportunities with packaging, and as an industry, we should look to take advantage of that. With that, I want to introduce a colleague of mine. His name is Julian, and he'll take us through, in a short video clip, what the challenges of current medicinal packages are and how we can take advantage of it. Thank you.